There used to be a time when Mini offered 8 models or body variants. Today the British Mark has consolidated its portfolio and all the 3 Clubman buyers have now to choose between the Countryman, the 5-door Coupe or the Aceman Electric. As the second generation Countryman owner, I think the new Countryman is too big for me. Perhaps downsizing to the Aceman would be the right step then. Let's find out. I recorded a comparison of the Mini Aceman and the Kia EV3. A surprising pair? Not necessarily. Also, channel members can watch this comparison early and without ads. Please consider becoming a channel member.
Without the Clubman, Mini today offers the Coupe, formerly known as the Hatch, in 3- and 5-door versions. The Aceman is slightly larger than the 5-door Coupe and much smaller than the Clubman. The Aceman has dimensions similar to the Jeep Avenger or the Dacia Sandero, and it comes exclusively with an electric powertrain. More about it in a moment. The front of the Aceman looks like a miniature Countryman with angular headlights and a tall vertical faux radiator grille because the electric motor doesn't need as much cooling as an internal combustion engine.
There could have been a frunk under the bonnet or at least a tray for a charging cable, but BMW does not believe its customers want it. It seems the aftermarket doesn't agree because you can already find frunks for some models of various brands, including BMW. There is plenty of room under the Aceman's bonnet, so someone will probably get around to it sooner or later.
Mini has to maintain its classic proportions, so from the side you can see attempts to conceal the battery in the floor, hence the black cladding on the sills and the fenders. This is to make the side windows look not as small as they really are, and they are tiny, which you notice especially from the inside.
Oh, those rims! I fell in love with them. I need to see if I could fit them to my Countryman, put some off-road tires on them, and it would look mega. Hey, don't judge me.
At the rear there's again a lot of plastic cladding at the bottom so that the rear window doesn't look like a gun hole, tail lamps with a variable motif and Aceman lettering running across the tailgate. Underneath that black plastic is a tow hitch socket. The Aceman can tow up to 750 kilograms and carry up to 75 kilograms on the hitch.
In the press release there is mention of clever use of space and a whole range of fresh possibilities in terms of design that the all-electric drive opens up. I guess frunk isn't clever enough. What also doesn't seem very clever is designing the tailgate in such a way that the release button is in a place that will be wet and dirty for 6 months of the year in most of Europe. To the best of my knowledge, none of the trim versions have or can be additionally equipped with a power tailgate. So you drop your kids off to school, open the boot, and you have your fingers dirty immediately. But there is more because wet road dirt is dripping on you and inside the boot from the poorly designed tailgate. I can only guess this is a result of designing the car mainly in a studio when no one asks themselves how the car will behave, in the real world. And I don't want to hear Mini PR explanation that their customers don't care, because this car is a fashion statement. You know what else is fashion? Your wife's blouse, the one with muck on its sleeve.
The boot capacity is a modest 300 liters. Fortunately, there is a double floor. Even in its lower position, you can still fit a charging cable underneath it. And in the upper position you can also stow away the parcel shelf. There is a 12-volt outlet and that would be it. There aren't even any shopping bag hooks. If I want clever use of space, I can buy a folding basket. BMW or Mercedes, or both, used to add one as part of some cargo arrangement package. Perhaps Mini should also consider it? The space in the back is, as you can imagine, limited. 2 adults will manage and, well, that's it. I'm 175 centimeters tall, the driver's seat is set to my driving position, and it looks like this. Behind the passenger seat, which can be moved back even further, I don't know why, it is only worse. The backrest splits 60-40, there is no armrest and no ski hatch. The only cup holder and 2 USB-C ports are between the front seats. There are no air conditioning vents, but there is a tunnel running through the middle.
Yes, a whole range of fresh possibilities in terms of vehicle design opened up thanks to the all-electric drive. So just in case they left a transmission tunnel, maybe they weren't sure if this going all EV is going to be a real thing, so they just left a back door for a ICE-powered Aceman E. At least they managed to design some door pockets, which are so small nothing will actually fit in there. But jokes aside, there is a third ISOFIX anchor point on the front passenger seat, and I applaud that. The Aceman cockpit looks very similar to that of the Mini Cooper SE and the Countryman. I link to the reviews of both of these cars in the description below. I also have a separate video which is devoted solely to Mini OS 9 infotainment system. In this particular example, it seems the screen is a bit less responsive, but perhaps it's because of my hands, fingers, which are frozen cold. And if you're wondering about this seatbelt buckle down here, it's because of progress. In some models, regardless of the brand and powertrain, as soon as you unbuckle and exit the vehicle, the whole car shuts down. Now, I realize that on set, I walk around the vehicle, I get in, I get out, and this may not be the way most people use their cars. However, when I get out to close the gate, I don't need the car to shut down. I'm not leaving for half an hour, but for 30 seconds. And I want to get back behind the wheel and drive away, not watch and listen to the whole welcome sequence all over again. And I know the welcome sequence can probably be turned off, but this is why the buckle rides with me in some test cars. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the front side windows are very small, so it's worth ordering a panoramic roof to make the cockpit feel brighter and less claustrophobic. Also, the door handles are too low in my opinion. They should be where the handles to pull the doors shut are located. Since BMW wants to protect cyclists from drivers opening doors without checking their mirrors, they should have put a button on the top grab handle and move the analog pull lever somewhere lower. If I had to point to one area where the Mini Aceman shines, it's the handling. Like the Cooper SE, also the Aceman SE corners like it's glued to the road. And that's true even in the winter as I'm recording this review. The Aceman is front-wheel drive only, even in the most powerful John Cooper Works version, which this is not. The review test unit is a JCW Trim package. Anyway, the electric motor and the traction control software work wonders. If I could take a shorter daily commute on the highway or twice as long on a twisty mountain road, I'd choose the latter. Two problems with the above statement though. First is the range and the second is the ride. And I'll start with the ride. Somehow the designers managed to overlook this combination of stiff suspension, wheelbase length and weight that makes the Aceman violently rock back and forth on some roads. And that includes some relatively new expressways on which I have driven various cars, including my own Mini Countryman, and I've never felt like at a heavy metal concert. Breaking the law, breaking the law.
Next up is the range. Mini offers the Aceman E with 38.5 kWh net traction battery and 184 horsepower, and the Aceman SE with a 49.2 kWh net traction battery and 218 horsepower. This is the one with the larger battery and more power. The range of the E version is about 300 kilometers, the SE about 400 kilometers. In the summer I tested the Cooper SE, which also had a claimed range of around 400 kilometers, and realistically it was able to achieve that in suburban conditions. In the city, the range dropped to about 300 kilometers, and on the expressway to about 250 kilometers, assuming that you start with a full battery and drive it down to zero, not within the 10 to 80% state of charge, of course. In that review, I said that I would be testing the Aceman in autumn or winter, so I'll be interested to see how it performs in less than perfect conditions. Well, the Aceman barely managed 200 kilometers in the winter. The test route was roughly 60-ish kilometers each. In the city, on country roads, and on the dual carriageway, the temperature ranged from -2 to +2 degrees Celsius, so it's hardly a harsh winter.
I parked outside overnight, so in the morning when I set off to film the beauty shots, a lot of energy went into warming up. But many people live in the cities where they do not have access to heated garages or even charging points to charge overnight and heat up the car. Besides, when you run errands around town, you don't plug the car into every charger every time because there aren't that many charging points, at least not in Poland.
After the beauty shots, the car informed me of a power cut due to low temperature of the traction battery, which it probably did not want to warm up due to low range. Shortly thereafter, messages began to appear about low battery level, and there was a prompt about battery conditioning for fast charging, which I did not plan on doing because I still had some filming to do. I set off from home with a range of 110 kilometers and returned with a range of 12 kilometers. That morning, I drove for about 60 kilometers, beauty shots in one location and drive-by car-to-car as well as GoPro close-ups in a second location, so about 50 kilometers disappeared due to cold weather. I performed the acceleration runs with limited power due to low battery level, so instead of claimed 7.1 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, I got about 9 seconds. In go-kart mode with DSC set to sport, there was a lot of wheel spin on wet surface, so the car performed better in normal mode.
Something that caught my attention was the strange behavior of the brakes. When braking hard, the friction is almost perceptible, as if the discs and the pads were covered with small pebbles. I don't know if it's related to the brake recall system on the Cooper and the Aceman models, which was announced 6 months ago and apparently hasn't been resolved yet, but it doesn't feel like worn pads, it's something else.
By default, Mini uses radar-based recuperation. When you lift off the accelerator pedal, the car either coasts or starts slowing down depending on the situation in front of you. There are also some region settings, but they are buried in the infotainment system menu. Mini believes its customers are too busy with themselves to be interested in the car's current parameters. Aside from that, there is a B mode that forces constant, reasonably strong recuperation, but something I'd not classify as full-on one-pedal driving. Still, it could be useful during long hill descents. What else can I say about the Aceman? Visibility is good, the seats have good lateral support, there is a wide range of adjustment of the driving position. Similar to other Mini models, also this car has a good 360 camera, navigation with augmented reality, and a clever parking assistant. And yes, these are potentially useful features, but I'd like a well-designed tailgate. And if I can't have a longer range, I'd like at least charging faster than 95 kilowatts. During road trips, especially in wintertime, I don't want to stop for half an hour every 150 kilometers. Prices of the Mini Aceman start at €30,650 for the E and €34,150 for the SE. This test car is an Aceman SE in John Cooper Works trim. With options, it costs €46,446.
To me, the Mini Aceman is largely an electric version of the 5-door Cooper. All this clever use of space and a whole range of fresh possibilities in terms of vehicle design is a load of crap filling a suspiciously short model launch press release. My impression is that the Mini is betting everything on the Cooper and the Countryman. If that doesn't work for you, I'm sure there's a BMW showroom next door, and I feel sorry for Mini. And what do you think about the Mini Aceman? Is this what you thought was missing from the Mini range, or do you agree that Cooper and Countryman are all that Mini customers really want? Drop me a comment below this video.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.